So I am very excited to have Diane Eliasari from Telstra, Senior Information Security Manager there. She's going to talk to us about a different angle to improve operational readiness through tabletop exercising. With 20 years experience in cybersecurity industry and also in the women in security leadership context, does a few interesting things, awards and so on, and helping women get ahead in technology. I think it's a good time for this because I've heard Hamish say a few times as well that exercising is very important. So let's give it up for Diane and enjoy the next presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, Hilsted. Thanks. Hi everyone, good morning. So excited to be here with you and hopefully you gain knowledge so far. And today I'm going to present my insight on the topic a different angle to improve operational readiness through tabletop exercise. Many of you might wonder why I want to present tabletop exercise while there are so many tools, approach out there fancier than tabletop exercise. But do you know what? Tabletop exercise is actually practical, can be run repetitively, and if you consider budget and compare with the real drill simulation, this approach can be used or added to that approach. In many practice, there are so many lack of collaboration, so many lack of communication, process disconnection, just like Hamish said. And it can lead to lack of assurance controls. Assurance control itself is a process tools placed in place so operational can work effectively, efficiently, and of course, stick with the compliance. Now, how can we improve the process? How can we improve the collaboration? One of the tools is tabletop exercise. In cybersecurity, usually people think tabletop exercise is only to test incident response plan to improve the readiness of the security incident management security controls. However, based on my research and our experience, these tools can also be used to improve operational readiness for other security controls such as vulnerability management, user access, or any process that you think you can also utilize this. And in this session as well, I will touch base a little bit on how we are going to improve our tabletop exercise so it is more engaging and more memorable for the audience. Like Hamish said before, for example, if I have hypothetical story which can relate as well in many security events, you can search on the internet. For example, I have my own company, DN Security. I have my policy team and I also have my operational team. My policy team has developed a great policy, security policy standard, including user access standard, based on, let's say, international framework NIST or even Essential 8. And they put also in the centralized storage. But however, the auditor gave me, as a founder, two findings. First, there are several former employees still have access, still have admin privilege, and remain active. That's not good, right? It's really not good. And second, there are several employees who still have access to the system and data that they're not supposed to have. It's common as well in many companies because of their user access governance. But how and why this can cause? That's because of the lack of collaboration, lack of communication, process disconnection. We identify the gap there, definitely. How can this cause my company? Can you imagine? We have former employees where he or she have administrative privilege and still active. someone out there can have that credential. Even let's not think about someone out there of that actor. Someone inside there can have this credential, take my customer data, sell it on the dark web, for example, and I could or my company could have potential data breach. What can it cost me? Reputation, finance loss, and of course customer trust. And that's not good. That's why in the corporate companies, it's just like an ivory tower moment. Yeah? Where the policy team sometimes or most of the time is perceived as a professional or a team that out of reach for by my operational team. And it's common in any stage at any company. And that's not good. That's why there are so many tools, actually, so many approach outside that can improve the process. But at this session, I would like to share my insight on the tabletop exercise. Tabletop exercise. Because again, practical, we can run this repetitively, and budget-wise, we can consider this one as one of the solution. And tabletop exercise is not only in cybersecurity. If you are in cybersecurity, probably you think, oh, this is to test cyber incident response test. This is to test or to improve operational readiness for security incident. No, it's not. Tabletop exercise actually has been used for years. Actually started around 70s by many sectors, not only cybersecurity. For example, in healthcare, if you all remember pandemic COVID-19 at that time, and you can search now that, there are so many research saying, we need to have many or more exercise, including tabletop exercise, so we are more ready. So it's not only in cybersecurity, and also in business, education, and also emergency services. They have utilized tabletop exercise for years. So tabletop exercise actually is not a new thing. But in cybersecurity, they usually think this about the security incident management. But however, actually this can be used also for another security controls or domains. And this is actually my tabletop exercise moment, my experience. But if I can ask the audience today now, who here, please raise your hand, has ever attended tabletop exercise? Good. And who here ever facilitated tabletop exercise? Okay, that's all right. Thank you. I've been in both sides. So if I can divide my moments into 3 stages. First stage is about security incident management, where I attended and also facilitated security incident management to test IRP or incident response plan. And the second and the third one, my stages was about security incident, and I added also several security control, which is vulnerability management, secure configuration, and also I added several tools to make the TTE more engaging for the attendees, which I will drill down later on. So that's my tabletop exercise moment. Because I noticed in here, some of you have already attended tabletop exercise, facilitated tabletop exercise. Let me summarize in high level in here. Tabletop exercise is a discussion-based scenario. Key point in tabletop exercise, of course, the scenario itself. And if you ask me when is the best time to run the exercise and how many times per year, it really depends on your requirement, on your process requirement. Yeah, I cannot advise you once a year. That's based on, for example, PCI DSS. Have you run exercise once a year? Some of the companies that I have been discussing with, they have done tabletop exercise at least once in 2 months. So it really depends on your requirement. So that's about the tabletop exercise in high level. As a facilitator, or probably your company also already have the framework for tabletop exercise. If you don't have one, you can have a look, you can check or Google from the internet, so many framework there, and you can update that one based on your requirement as well. But basically, as a facilitator, I have 3 high-level framework in here, pillar in here, which is, first, I have a planning. I will plan, in the planning one, I will plan the scenario, the objective for security domain that I will test in here, and then also I will decide the scenario. It's fun to decide which scenario that we will be running, because first, if we feel that the previous tabletop exercise doesn't live with our expectation, for example, and we need more to do that, we can use that one, tweak a little bit the scenario. Second one, this is what I like. I like doing some research on the internet. I always do. So I always scrape or collect all the interesting security events from the internet and then pick top 5, for example, and also customize that one with the requirement of my next tabletop exercise. Also, we need to mindful of which kind of tabletop exercise we'll be running. Is it like on the executive or end-to-end? Also need to be mindful about the timing and the audience as well, and also what kind of tabletop exercise we will be doing. Virtual, this is the one that I usually do from the second stage and third stage, or probably face-to-face tabletop exercise. It really depends. So we really need to plan properly for the tabletop exercise. Second one, of course, the execution. And in execution, we will do the exercise itself, we have the scenario, and we will have some tools in this execution itself. Third one is closing. This is where we have identified the gap based on the exercise. And also based on the exercise, we identify the gap and then update the document, the process, and we do the closing, including the sign off. So that's basically the high level of the tabletop exercise. As I mentioned earlier, there are so many samples on the internet, especially for security incident management in cybersecurity. Yeah? We can have ransomware, we can have other malware infection, for example, or we can have DDoS. You can have that scenario. And for not vulnerability management and secure configuration, there are not so many scenarios in there. But what my experience is, I had assess end-to-end for vulnerability management. If the vendor said, hey, this is a critical vulnerability from us, we can have the scenario. Is it really critical for us, for our company? What are our mitigating controls in place? So is it really critical? So we can have that exercise. And I know in here also is not only cybersecurity, which is great, including physical security. Why can we make the scenario, for example, let me know if you want. I read one research from CIS. There is a scenario for physical security about flooding in data center. So you can do that one as well. Now, where we at? So at ivory tower moment, it's always there at some stage, some point in any company, in anything, in anywhere. And there are tools. One of the tools that we can use to improve our process, to improve our operational readiness, is by utilizing tabletop exercise. And definitely in cybersecurity, it's not only to test incident response plan, it's not only to improve readiness in security incident management, but also we can use that one for other security controls, such as assessing vulnerability management end-to-end, or even the user access, the one that I've told you earlier. So that's where we at the moment. Now I'm going to share my insight with you. How are we going to improve the tabletop exercise? Because we really don't want to have this exercise just only to tick the compliance. For example, again, PCI DSS controls. Have you run the exercise at least once a year? Yes, we tick that one. But we want to improve our readiness, right? For our team, for our company. That's what we'd like to do. So this is what I have been doing. So when we do I have storytelling in my tabletop exercise. I have also interaction, and I also doing some fun stuff in my exercise. So that's what we do. Storytelling. This is powerful. Raise your hand if you like doing storytelling to deliver your message. 2, 3, 5. Thank you. I love doing that. The storytelling is a powerful tool to deliver your message. In this one, for example, for one scenario, I told them, the audience, about where all vulnerability wasn't remediated properly led to 143 million customer breach in 2017. Does anyone know that one or remember? It's Equifax. And I shared that story before I threw the scenario. They got interacted with me, which is good. What we would like to have in tabletop exercise is not one way from facilitator to the audience. We would like to have 2 ways, yeah? And I also do the prop. For example, for one of the thing, they know I'm running. So I use this one. I told them, I can show them in the camera. They know I'm running. So I said to them, if I run and if I don't secure my bum bag before my run, if I don't secure it, my stuff can fall. The consequence is I could have accident if I slip from the stuff that fall from here. Or other runners can also fall. And also it could delay my run to finishing line. Also, I was just thinking, because this is Asia event. Anyone knows this one, right? We can use the prop using this one. Even the scenario, I'm just thinking about that one. So you can make the prop this one. There is one story, a lot of stories actually about cabling and security incident. What if the technician accidentally unplugged the cable from the, for example, from the servers that hosted very critical system, which can lose to reputation and lose financial impact? You can have the prop, you can have the scenario. So yeah, storytelling is one of the powerful thing to deliver your message. I also have interaction. Actually, I have many interaction in a lot of my scenario tabletop exercise, but I will just share with you 3 in here. First, breakout room. As a facilitator, of course, I will tell or show audience event by event or inject by inject, definitely. So first inject, for example, I will regroup them into small group, and then they will discuss for several minutes, and I will regroup them again to respond for my inject. And based on my observation, there are 2 things. First, every group will have similar response. Secondly, they have totally different response. This is when when we have this scenario tabletop exercise for escalation process during Christmas to New Year's, because everyone will be on leave anyway. So at that time, we identify the gap, which is good. So we can fix that one. We can improve the process. That's great. And second one is the poll. And I like doing poll. Usually I prepare the poll in the preparation and planning stage. So that's a poll. Usually I created 5 or 6, and 2 of them I will be using that one at the end of the tabletop exercise, because I would like to know what's the key takeaway from the tabletop exercise. And also, if they want another tabletop exercise with another scenario, I usually ask the audience. Poll is really great as well. We can have different response from the poll, which we can identify as a gap to improve our process, or also to improve our readiness in operational. And also question and answer. As I mentioned earlier, I prefer 2-way communication, interaction. For me as a facilitator, I really don't want only me who always throwing the inject and they just say yes, no. I would prefer to have 2 ways communication, which is great. And with this question and answer in my application, they can ask anything about the scenario and we discuss. However, as a facilitator, you need to be mindful as well about timing on when we can stop and then go to the next inject or event, something like that. So we need to be mindful in the question and answer. So that's the interaction that we have in the tabletop exercise. And the third one is fun. We are managing human. This is about the human factor, definitely. So when we are having exercise, we want to have the audience to remember what we have done. So in the real life, for example, if we have the security incident, we got called at 3 a.m., we know, oh, this is similar what we have done earlier in our tabletop exercise. That's what we would like to have, right? So it's improved the operational readiness. At the end, it's about the resilience. So for the fun stuff, I asked them to have the create avatar because some people just don't want to turn on the camera, and it's expected. So they love that. So we use avatar, and usually I had fun by throwing the fun quiz as well. Not to overcomplicate it, don't make it complicated. For example, one of the questions that I would like to probably ask them in relation, for example, to some security domain, who updated the reject, who will update the reject when this one happened. And you know what? Because we already have this interaction, the connection in the scenario, in the tabletop, they just turn on the microphone. Oh, this team's Dian who update the reject. Oh, this person Dian who update the reject, which is great. The interaction that we would like to have because it's improved the collaboration between teams. And third one, appreciation. Appreciate every single one who involved in tabletop exercise. This is again the human factor. Usually when I do that is when we close the tabletop exercise, we identify the gap, and then we have updated the document, updated the process, sign off. Then I will send everyone summary with everything, including the appreciation. I always sometimes shout out who or the person who answered all the questions, something like that. And I also usually appreciate them in some kind of other application for the appreciation. So that's what we need for the human, for the attendees as well, because basically exercise, we involve the human factor is really important, human connection is really important, because with that we will improve operational readiness. At the end, it's about resilience. What I learned from tabletop exercise as an attendee and as a facilitator. Let me share with you from the attendees. For the attendees, remember that I send them 2 polls at the end of the exercise. This is summary of what they sent to me. They said the lesson from the tabletop exercise is more collaboration, which means improve collaboration, improve communication. And they say also unity, which is great. Teams. Some of them say teams. And I put it in the cloud summary, so they like it. It's including in the report. So that's good for me. Process is more mature. For us, the team's process is more mature, which means we improve the readiness for in operational. At the end, again, it's about resilience. So this is a really great tools if you think about the process to improve your domain. And this is my final scoop for this session. Ivory tower moment, lack of collaboration, lack of communication, process disconnection, as Hami said, is always there at some point in any companies and in anywhere actually. And we have a lot of tools. And one of the tools that we can consider is tabletop exercise, which in cybersecurity, usually it is used to improve the readiness in security incident management. However, we also can use this one in another or other security domains such as vulnerability management or even user access review. We can always do that. And tools leverage the tools that you have to improve the TTE because it will be more engaging and memorable for the audience. That's what we want. So at the end, if we are the responder, got called 2 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., we kind of remember, oh, this is what we have. This is what we've been exercised, for example, for ransomware, what we need to do. So tools is good to create TTE more engaging and memorable. And now, for everyone, first, are you ready to leverage tabletop exercise to improve your operational readiness for your process? And second one, are you ready to leverage your tools to improve your tabletop exercise so it is more engaging and memorable for the audience? Thank you. Over to you, Rinsky.
Questions for Dian? We have time for a few. Anyone have a question or an experience to share about tabletop exercising? Elaine?
Oh.
I have
Okay.
a question for you.
Yeah.
Just run up here because you have the well. I've conducted a lot of exercising and simulating in Southeast Asia, probably potentially where you also may have had some experience apart from Telstra where you are now. What I've observed a lot is people are a little bit worried to make mistakes in those exercises. They fix little things up in the background, oh, the procedure wrong or whatever, technical recovery, whatever it might be. Do you tackle that somehow? Like, do you encourage people to be completely themselves, make mistakes, see it as a team effort, or how do you do that if you do?
Yes, if I facilitate the tabletop exercise, I encourage them actually to speak, to share their insight, because that's what actually the objective of tabletop exercise, to identify the gap, and they actually, if we create this environment, our audience is high performers. They will just give us their insight. At that time, we will identify the gap and update the process. We can update the process. I love this approach because that's where we have two-way communication. Let them come to us. So, yeah.
Have you seen anything really going wrong in an exercise where you had to kind of almost stop the scenario because it was going too bad?
Well, it was when I was attending, not facilitating. I saw about the ransomware stuff, yes. So the facilitator needs to stop and then regain again or restart again. Yeah. But so, yeah. Yeah. It is exciting tools, in my opinion. It's a good tools to improve the readiness.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dian? Everyone
No.
in caffeine mode?